The Solaris Diner on Alaris Prime was a small, cozy place tucked between tall, shimmering skyscrapers. Neon lights flickered softly across the metallic walls, reflecting in the polished tables. The air smelled warm and inviting, a mixture of sizzling food and sweet spices from planets far away. Inside, Lyra moved gracefully, her turquoise skin glinting under the soft glow. Her large eyes, round and curious, scanned every table. She had been a waitress for many cycles, and she knew the routine well. Greet, serve, smile, repeat. But today, something in the air made her feel a little off, a little excited, as if something unusual was about to happen. She carried a tray full of steaming dishes, careful not to spill a drop. She approached a table where a group of aliens chatted loudly, laughing in strange, high-pitched tones. Lyra smiled politely, placing their meals in front of them. They waved at her, some with tentacles, others with thin, shimmering arms. She returned the gesture, keeping her posture straight, her antennae twitching slightly in response to their voices. It was a normal day for her, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that it wouldn't stay normal for long. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and a cold breeze entered the diner. Lyra looked up, and her eyes caught sight of a young human boy standing there. Humans were rare visitors on Alaris Prime, and they fascinated her. His hair was messy, sticking out in every direction, and his clothes were slightly worn, dust clinging to the knees of his pants. But his eyes were bright and full of life. He looked around nervously, clutching a small metal robot tightly in his hands. It looked battered, wires poking out, but it seemed loyal to him, following his every movement. Lyra stepped forward and greeted him with a polite smile. "Welcome to Solaris Diner. What would you like to eat?" The boy hesitated. He looked down at the floor, then back at her. I just want something hot. I'm hungry," he said softly. There was no complaint in his voice, no anger. Just a simple, quiet need that tugged at Lyra's heart in a way she didn't understand. She nodded, her antennae quivering slightly. "Of course. I'll bring something for you." She turned to the kitchen, her steps quick and purposeful. The cook, a stout alien with green scales, raised an eyebrow but didn't question her. They knew Lyra's instincts were rarely wrong. Minutes later, she returned with a steaming plate of noodles, the aroma rich and comforting. She placed it in front of the boy gently. "Here, be careful. It's hot," she said, smiling softly. The boy looked at her with wide eyes, a small, nervous smile forming on his lips. He took a deep breath and began eating. Slowly at first, then faster, as if he hadn't eaten in days. Lyra watched him carefully. She had served hundreds of customers over the cycles, but there was something different about this human. He ate with a kind of appreciation she had never seen before. Every bite seemed meaningful, as if he were tasting hope itself. Her curiosity grew. She wanted to know what had made him like this. Humble, quiet, yet so alive. He wasn't like the humans she had read about in stories or seen in holo archives. Those humans were often loud, proud, sometimes careless. But this one radiated something rare. As the boy finished his meal, he carefully wiped his mouth with the edge of his sleeve. Lyra handed him a cup of warm water. "Do you need anything else?" she asked softly, her voice trembling a little with a strange, unexplainable emotion. The boy shook his head but looked up at her, his eyes shining. "Thank you," he said simply. 2 words, soft and quiet but filled with honesty and gratitude. Lyra felt a warmth spread in her chest. It was a feeling she didn't fully understand, but it made her heart beat faster. Humans had always seemed mysterious to her, strange creatures with complex ways, but here, in this small diner, she saw a glimpse of something extraordinary. She watched as he stood, adjusting the small robot at his side. The boy gave her a small wave and stepped toward the door, disappearing into the bustling streets of Alaris Prime. Lyra blinked, still holding the cup in her hands, her mind spinning. Something had shifted. She didn't know what it was yet. But she had a feeling that this human, small and fragile as he seemed, was about to change everything she thought she knew, and she was right. The diner returned to its usual rhythm after the boy left. But Lyra couldn't shake the feeling of unease mixed with curiosity. She moved between tables, taking orders and serving plates, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the human boy. There was something in his quiet strength, something in the way he had appreciated his simple meal, that left her unsettled in the best way possible. Just as she was clearing a table, the door opened again with a rush of cold wind. A man entered, older than most humans she had seen, his clothes worn and patched. His eyes were tired but determined, and he carried something unusual, a small alien creature trembling and hurt in his arms. Lyra froze. Her antennae quivered. She had served hundreds of beings, but seeing an alien in pain like that, carried by a human, stirred a strange mixture of fear and awe inside her. The man spoke softly. "Can you help him?" His voice was calm but edged with urgency. Lyra nodded quickly, motioning to the kitchen for some water and a soft cloth. Yes, I will try to help." Her hands shook slightly as she approached, unsure of what she might do. The creature whimpered, a tiny sound that cut through the diner's chatter. Lyra knelt down carefully, placing the cloth under the creature's head and offering it some water. Its eyes blinked weakly, and it made a soft noise of relief. Then something happened that made Lyra gasp. The boy from earlier, the one who had quietly eaten in her diner, appeared at her side. He didn't speak. He simply knelt next to the injured creature and laid his hands gently on its trembling body. A soft glow emanated from his palms, warm and bright, lighting up the diner in a way that seemed impossible. Lyra blinked. She had heard stories about humans helping others, sometimes performing feats that seemed impossible to aliens, but she had never witnessed it herself, and yet here it was. The creature's breathing steadied, its tiny limbs relaxed, and it let out a quiet, relieved whimper. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. She had always thought humans were strange and unpredictable. But this was beyond anything she had imagined. The boy's act was quiet, humble, yet so powerful. It was as if he could see the pain of the world and simply choose to erase it, one gentle touch at a time. Her mind spun with disbelief. How can they do that?" she whispered to herself. Her co-worker, a green-scaled alien named Varn, shook his head. "They care," Varn said simply, almost as if it explained everything. "That's their strength. Not power, not weapons, but caring. They act when others hesitate." Lyra's eyes widened. She had grown up in a culture where strength meant dominance, where bravery was measured by skill with weapons or cunning in battle. Yet this human, small and unassuming, had healed a creature in pain without hesitation, without fear. The act itself was not violent or forceful. It was pure, quiet, and unstoppable. The man carrying the injured creature looked at the boy with gratitude, his voice trembling. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you," the boy smiled softly. "No one needs to repay, just take care of him." His words were simple, almost ordinary, but the weight behind them made Lyra feel something unfamiliar. Hope. Lyra stepped back, almost unable to breathe. She had seen acts of courage before, but nothing like this. Humans. They were different. They weren't just strong. They were extraordinary in ways she could barely comprehend. They acted out of care, out of empathy, out of something deeper than survival or pride. As the boy and the man walked out, leaving the healed creature safely in the diner, Lyra sank onto a stool behind the counter. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to process what she had witnessed. Her chest felt tight, her mind racing. She realized something important. This was not a one-time miracle. This was a way of being, a pattern of bravery and compassion that she had only glimpsed before. And for the first time, Lyra felt something stir in her heart. Admiration, awe, and a strange longing to understand humans more deeply. She knew one thing for certain. Life on Alaris Prime would never feel the same again. After that day, Lyra couldn't stop thinking about the humans she had seen. Their courage and kindness stayed in her mind, like a warm light she couldn't turn away from. Every time the diner door opened, she glanced up, hoping to catch another glimpse of the boy or perhaps someone else like him. Her coworkers noticed her distraction. "Lyra, you're staring again," Varn said, his green scales glinting under the neon lights. "What is it with you? You look..." "Different," Lyra shook her head slowly. "It's not normal humans. They're strange. But I mean that in a good way. I've never seen anything like it before." Varn raised an eyebrow. "Strange?" "Yes," Lyra said softly, almost whispering. "They don't fight for pride. They don't do it for fame. They care. They act, even when it's dangerous, even when no one else would, and somehow they make it look easy." Varn shook his head and returned to cleaning a table, but Lyra could tell he didn't fully understand. In her world, strength was measured in power, in skill, in dominance. But humans Humans seem to measure strength differently, by compassion, by courage, by the willingness to help others no matter the cost. As days passed, rumors spread across the city. Aliens whispered in marketplaces and on the streets about the humans who had saved creatures, repaired broken Achenes without proper tools, and stopped conflicts without violence. Some called it luck, some called it chance. But Lyra knew better. She had seen the truth with her own eyes. One evening, the diner was unusually quiet. Lyra was stacking plates when a group of alien children ran inside, their small feet clattering on the metal floor. They stopped abruptly when they saw her. "Miss Lyra," one of them shouted, pointing excitedly outside the window. "A human is helping the injured robot again." Lyra's heart leapt. She ran to the window and saw it. A human crouched beside a fallen service drone, his hands glowing softly as he worked to repair the delicate circuits. He hummed softly, concentrating, while frightened onlookers stood at a safe distance. Lyra swallowed hard. Every time she saw humans do something like this, it felt like her chest would burst with awe. She couldn't help but feel a strange warmth, like the world was brighter simply because they existed. After the human finished, he stood, brushing dirt from his sleeves, and smiled at the tiny crowd of aliens. He didn't boast or demand thanks. He didn't need to. The act itself was enough. The children cheered quietly, some mimicking the way he had handled the robot, and then ran off, inspired. Lyra sank onto a stool, wrapping her arms around herself. She whispered to no one, "Why? Why do they do this? Why do they keep helping, even when no one else would?" Varn came beside her quietly. "Maybe because they can. Maybe because someone has to. Maybe because no one should be left behind." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She realized something profound. These humans were not just capable of great acts, they were consistent. They didn't pick and choose when to care. They didn't measure when it was convenient. Every single time they acted with courage and heart. It was a way of life, a pattern she couldn't ignore. For the first time, Lyra felt both fear and hope. Fear because humans were so powerful in ways her species didn't understand. Hope because their presence meant the universe could change. And in that hope, she felt her own heart grow lighter, as if every act of human kindness she witnessed planted a small seed of belief inside her. That night, as she closed the diner, Lyra looked out at the bustling city, the neon lights reflecting in her large eyes. She whispered softly, "I have to see it again. I have to understand them." Little did she know, the universe was about to show her exactly why humans inspired not just hope, but awe again and again. The next morning, the Solaris diner was buzzing with the usual crowd. Aliens of every shape and color filled the tables, chatting and laughing over steaming plates of food. Lyra moved between them with practiced grace, her turquoise skin shimmering in the soft neon light. Yet her thoughts weren't on orders or tips. They were on the humans she had seen before. Something told her that today, she would witness something extraordinary again. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the street outside. The diner shook slightly and several plates rattled on the counter. Gasps filled the room as everyone ran to the windows. Lyra's heart raced. She saw a hovercar flipped onto its side, smoke rising from its engine. A small alien child was trapped beneath it, screaming in fear. Panic rippled through the crowd. Aliens ran forward, unsure how to lift the heavy vehicle, their tentacles quivering with worry. Then a figure appeared. A human, tall and strong, sprinted toward the wreck. Lyra's eyes widened as she watched him approach. Without hesitation, he lifted the hovercar with astonishing strength. The vehicle wobbled slightly in his hands, but he held it steady. Slowly, he lowered it enough for the terrified child to crawl out. Lyra felt her chest tighten. She had heard humans could be strong, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. The child clung to the human, sobbing, and the man knelt down, murmuring softly. His words were gentle, soothing, though Lyra couldn't understand them. Yet she could see the effect. The child stopped trembling, the fear fading from its wide eyes. The human's hands glowed faintly, a warmth that seemed to reach into the hearts of everyone watching. Lyra stumbled back from the window, her knees weak. She felt the world tilt slightly, as if her mind could not fully comprehend what she was seeing. Again and again, humans performed acts that seemed impossible. Again and again, they risked themselves, not for reward, not for recognition, but simply because it was the right thing to do. The crowd outside began to cheer, but the human didn't look for praise. He stood quietly, brushing dust from his clothes, then guided the child gently to safety. The child's parents rushed forward, their voices full of gratitude, but the human only nodded and smiled softly. There was no arrogance, no desire for fame, only quiet, steadfast courage. Lyra sank onto a stool inside the diner, wrapping her arms around herself. Her heart pounded and tears welled in her eyes. She had served hundreds of beings, seen countless struggles, but she had never witnessed bravery and compassion like this. It was not the strength of weapons or the force of power that moved her. It was something deeper, something innate to humans. She realized something important. Humans didn't just act once. They didn't just help when it was easy. They acted again and again, in every situation where someone was in danger, where kindness was needed, where hope seemed lost. They had a consistency that was astonishing. Lyra had seen the boy heal a creature with a gentle touch, and now she had seen a human lift a car to save a child. Her mind raced. How could a species so fragile-looking possess such courage, such empathy, such a will to protect and care for others no matter the risk? Lyra felt a mixture of awe, disbelief, and inspiration. Humans were different, not just physically, not just intellectually, but morally. Their strength came from their heart, from the way they refused to turn away when someone needed help. The street slowly returned to normal. The child was safe, the hovercar had been righted, and the humans and aliens exchanged grateful glances. Yet Lyra couldn't move. She remained perched on her stool, staring blankly at the neon lights above, her antennae drooping slightly from shock. Her body felt weak, her heart full, her mind alive with the impossible acts she had witnessed. For the first time she understood. Humans weren't just visitors from a distant world. They were a force that could change everything. They could inspire hope, restore faith, and remind even the most cautious alien that courage and compassion were worth more than all the weapons in the universe. Lyra whispered to herself, barely audible over the quiet hum of the diner. I can't believe it, and yet, I've seen it happen again, and in that moment, she knew her life and her understanding of the universe would never be the same. The diner had finally settled back into its quiet rhythm, but Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that something inside her had changed. Her chest still throbbed with the memory of the human lifting the hovercar, saving the terrified child with such courage and care. Every detail played in her mind like a vivid hollow recording. The soft glow of his hands, the calm determination in his eyes, the quiet way he reassured the child. She realized she had never seen bravery like this before. As she poured a drink for another customer, she noticed the boy she had served earlier sitting alone at a small table. His robot companion rested quietly beside him. Lyra hesitated, then walked over with a gentle smile. "Would you like some juice?" she asked softly, placing a glass in front of him. The boy looked up at her with those same bright eyes, shining with a mix of curiosity and calm. "Thank you," he said simply, his voice quiet but sincere. Lyra sat down across from him, feeling an unfamiliar need to speak. I don't understand," she admitted, her hands trembling slightly. "Why do you humans help? Why do you risk yourselves again and again, even when no one else would?" The boy's eyes softened. He tilted his head as if thinking carefully about her question. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said finally. "Because someone helped me when I had nothing, because no one should feel alone." Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine. The simplicity of his words carried a weight she had never known. No strategy, no orders, no power, just a human heart choosing to care. It made her chest ache in a strange, beautiful way. She realized that humans weren't like other species she had served. They didn't measure strength by how much force they could use or how many battles they could win. They measured it by how much they could give, how much they could protect, and how much they could inspire hope. The boy's words settled in her mind like seeds, growing a strange warmth in her heart. She thought about the man who had carried the injured creature into her diner, the human who lifted the hovercar, and countless other humans she had seen in the streets. Each one acted with the same courage, the same quiet determination to do what was right. And none of them asked for thanks. None of them sought glory. They simply helped. Lyra felt tears prick her eyes. She had always thought of humans as strange, unpredictable creatures from a distant planet, but now she saw them differently. They were extraordinary, not because of their technology, their strength, or their cleverness, but because of the depth of their hearts. They could change lives with the simplest acts of kindness, with the courage to face danger for someone else. The boy reached for his glass, finishing it carefully, then looked up at Lyra again. "You'll see it more," he said softly. "Humans, they don't stop. They keep helping. Every time someone is in trouble, someone will step forward. You just have to watch closely." Lyra nodded slowly, her eyes glistening. She felt a strange mixture of humility and hope, as if witnessing these humans had opened a door inside her that she didn't even know existed. The universe suddenly seemed larger, brighter, and more full of possibilities. For the first time, she felt inspired not just as a waitress or an alien observer, but as a part of something bigger. Humans reminded her, in ways she could not yet fully describe, that even the smallest acts of courage, the quietest gestures of kindness, could ripple across the galaxy. They could heal, they could save, they could inspire. Lyra stood, gently patting the boy's shoulder. I want to understand," she whispered. "I want to see how you do it. I want to see it again." The boy smiled, a small, knowing smile. "You will," he said simply. "And when you do, you'll see why humans can change everything." As Lyra walked back to the counter, she realized that hope, bravery, and compassion were not just ideas, they were alive, and humans carried them like a quiet, unstoppable force. She felt a surge of emotion she had never experienced before. Humans weren't just remarkable visitors to her world. They were reminders that even in the darkest times, courage and kindness could shine brighter than any star in the galaxy. And in that moment, Lyra knew that the universe would never be the same again, not as long as humans continued to act the way they always had. Days passed, and the Solaris diner remained a constant hub of life and activity. Aliens from all over Alaris Prime came to eat, chat, and share stories. But Lyra's eyes no longer wandered aimlessly. She watched every movement carefully, waiting for the humans to appear again. She wasn't just curious anymore, she was learning, understanding, and slowly realizing the depth of what she had been witnessing. That evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, a familiar figure walked through the door. The boy she had served weeks ago entered, his robot companion rolling behind him. Lyra felt her heart lift. There was something about the way he moved, quietly, deliberately, yet full of confidence, that seemed to radiate calm and purpose. She greeted him softly. "You're back," she said. Her voice held more emotion than usual. The boy nodded, a gentle smile spreading across his face. "I promised I'd return," he said simply. "There's more to see. There's more to help." Lyra followed him with her eyes as he moved among the tables, helping wherever he could. A small alien creature had gotten its tail caught under a chair. The boy gently lifted it, murmuring comforting words while freeing the tail. Across the room, a robotic server had malfunctioned. Without hesitation, the boy adjusted its wiring, restoring it to perfect function. Every movement, every act of care seemed effortless yet extraordinary. Lyra sat back, taking in the scene. Her heart swelled. She realized that humans didn't act out of obligation, duty, or desire for reward. They acted because they could, because it was necessary, because it was right. Their strength wasn't in weapons or tool. It was in their hearts, their minds, and their unwavering willingness to make a difference. She remembered the man who had carried the injured alien into the diner, the human who lifted the hover car, and countless small acts she had witnessed over the days. They all followed the same pattern. Humans stepped in when others hesitated. They risked themselves to protect, heal, and inspire. And they did it repeatedly, without complaint, without recognition, without pride. Lyra's mind raced with wonder. How could a species so seemingly fragile be so brave, so kind, so unstoppable? Her chest tightened and her eyes filled with tears. She had served countless customers in her life, but never had she felt this combination of awe, respect, and hope. Humans weren't just remarkable. They were extraordinary in ways that defied logic. As she watched the boy interact with the diners, she felt something shift inside her. Hope blossomed. A sense of possibility stretched before her like the night sky above Alaris Prime. Humans could face danger and fear without flinching. They could heal, lift, and save with quiet determination. And their actions inspired others, aliens and humans alike, to believe that courage and compassion were worth everything. Lyra whispered to herself, almost trembling with the realization, They really are different. They really can change the world. The boy looked up and noticed her staring. He walked over and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You see it now, don't you? He said softly. You understand why we do what we do. You see that even small actions can create hope, can inspire courage, can change lives. Lyra nodded, tears streaming freely down her face. Yes, she said, her voice trembling. I see it, I feel it. I can't believe I've been so blind before. Humans. Humans are incredible. The boy smiled, the kind of smile that carried warmth and certainty. It's not magic, he said. It's choice. Every time we help, we choose to be better. That's all it takes. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling her chest swell with admiration and determination. She knew now that humans were more than just visitors from a distant planet. They were a force of hope, a reminder that courage, compassion, and kindness could change everything. And in that moment, Lyra promised herself something quietly but firmly. She would remember, she would believe, and she would never underestimate humans again. Because humanity, with its unshakable heart, its courage and its endless compassion, was unstoppable. Weeks passed, and life at Solaris Diner continued as usual. Yet Lyra could never return to seeing the world the way she had before. Every human who walked through the door reminded her of something she had realized deep inside. Courage, compassion, and hope could come in the smallest forms, and they could ripple across the universe in ways no one could ignore. One quiet evening, the boy she had come to know so well entered the diner, followed by a group of humans. Their presence immediately drew attention, but Lyra wasn't afraid or anxious this time. She watched with admiration as they moved, helping wherever help was needed. One adjusted a broken chair for a tiny alien child. Another comforted a nervous robot technician whose wires had shorted. And still another helped an elderly alien carry a heavy tray of food to her table. Every act was simple, quiet, but carried the weight of bravery and heart. Lyra felt her chest swell with emotion. She realized that humans didn't need recognition. They didn't need praise or thanks. They acted because they could, because it was the right thing to do, because someone had to. Every act of kindness, every display of courage was a choice. And when humans chose, they chose to change the world. The boy walked over to her table and placed a hand on her shoulder. His eyes were calm, but his gaze was full of certainty. Lyra, he said softly, you've seen it now. You've seen why humans act the way they do. You understand that courage isn't just in strength and kindness isn't just in words. It's in the heart. And when enough hearts choose the right thing, they can change everything. Lyra nodded slowly, tears running down her face. She could hardly find words to express the mix of awe, gratitude, and inspiration she felt. I understand now, she whispered. I've never seen anything like it. Humans, they're extraordinary, not because they're the strongest or the fastest, but because of what they carry inside. Hope, courage, compassion. The boy smiled. It's not magic, he said gently. It's choice. Every time we help, every time we protect, every time we care, the choice spreads. It touches others. It changes lives. That's the power of being human. Lyra took a deep breath and looked around the diner. She saw aliens whispering among themselves, watching the humans with fascination. She saw children mimicking their small acts of kindness. She saw hope growing quietly like tiny sparks in every corner. And she realized something profound. Humans didn't just inspire other humans. They inspired everyone. Every species, every being, every soul who witnessed their acts could feel the difference they made. Her chest tightened with emotion. She remembered the boy eating quietly at her table weeks ago, the man carrying the injured creature, the human who lifted the hover car. Every single act had followed the same pattern. Brave, humble, compassionate, unstoppable. And now she saw it fully. Humans didn't just act once. They acted again and again and again. Every day, every life they touched became a testament to the strength of their hearts. Lyra stood and looked at the group of humans in the diner. She felt something swell inside her. Admiration, respect, and a deep, unshakable hope. She realized she didn't just want to witness their acts. She wanted to carry that hope forward, to remember it, to share it. The boy noticed her gaze and gave a small, knowing smile. Remember, Lyra, he said, humans will never stop. We don't stop because we care, and once you see it, you can carry it with you too. Lyra felt her eyes fill with tears again, but this time they were tears of joy. She nodded. I will remember, she whispered. I will never forget. Humans, they can change everything. And in that quiet diner under the glow of the neon lights, Lyra understood the truth she had always sensed but never fully realized. Humanity was unstoppable. Not because of their technology, not because of their strength, not because of their cleverness, but because of their hearts. Brave, compassionate, kind, and unshakably determined, humans carried hope into every corner of the universe, and anyone who witnessed it even for a moment could feel it too. Lyra smiled through her tears, her heart full. She had seen humans act again and again, and she knew one